Hello everyone, welcome to English Shorthand classes. Exercise 16. Get ready for the dictation. Start. Tomorrow we will celebrate the Republic Day. On this auspicious occasion, I am happy to greet you all, my fellow citizens, at home and abroad, and convey to you my good wishes. This is no doubt a joyous occasion and we celebrate it with all enthusiasm. But this is also an occasion for calm introspection about where we stand and in what direction we are going. A few years back, our country was suffering from a deficit in food grains, and some people abroad had written us off as a country which could not be saved. In their view, our agriculture had no future and we would be exposed to recurring famines. These prophets of gloom had reckoned without our untiring Kisan, and they have been proved false. This country, which was producing 5 crore tons of food grains in 1950, has now reached a level of over 20 crore tons despite of floods and other natural calamities in several parts of the country. The credit for this goes to the Kisans, the vast majority of whom are small and marginal farmers. The developmental efforts over the last 30 years, which have been channelized by successive 5 year plans, have resulted in the execution of many major medium and minor irrigation projects all over the country. The assured water supply from these projects, as well as production of fertilizers, pesticides, and high yielding strains, have all aided the Kisan in ushering in an era of plenty. Because of the record output of food grains and industrial raw materials, we have been able to achieve a measure of price stability and contain inflation. Food sufficiency is among the major factors that have helped the country to sustain and strengthen its political and economic independence. We cannot, however, afford to be complacent. In the coming years, we will have to place agriculture on a sounder and more viable base. We will have to assure fair prices for the farmers' produce and reduce the cost of inputs that will encourage the Kisan to work harder and show better results. There has to be an intensive study of the agroecology of every area, and we must build up self reliance of each area in order to ensure the full development of its potential. If farmers, scientists, extension workers, developmental administrators, mass media agencies, and above all, our political leaders will all work together, we can soon regain the old image of our as a land full of milk and honey. While this achievement is certainly within our reach, a radical change in the entire value system of our urban societies is essential for attaining this goal. The brain drain and the depletion of resources from the village to the city must not only be stopped but must be reversed. The imperative need is for a happy combination of brain and brawn for achieving the rural prosperity. Those living in villages and our scientists and technologists who choose to work in villages must be provided with adequate facilities. The basic minimum needs of the rural people must be fulfilled without further delay. In the welter of demands and agitations by the urban pressure groups for an ever increasing share in the national cake, the needs of the poor farmer, the real producer of wealth in our country, are apt to be overlooked. Let us not forget that India will prosper only if the tiller of the soil lives and prospers. Our hardworking peasantry have proved time and again that they are ready to adopt new technology provided they are helped to do so. It is now the responsibility of every citizen in this country to ensure that our farmers are able to produce more food from less land. This presupposes considerable attention in safeguarding our basic agricultural assets like soil, water, flora, and fauna so that productivity can be improved without harming the long term production potential of soil and water. I have had occasion to fly over the Himalayas in recent months and I was shocked to see the extent of deforestation that has taken place. What was once all greenery has been reduced to barren rocks. Such denudation and the resultant soil erosion pose a grave danger to our future. Floods and droughts are caused by thoughtless destruction of forests. We should ensure that in our zeal to bring more land under the plough, we do not disturb the delicate balance of nature. We need to create new forest belts to be maintained in perpetuity. I am happy that the state governments are now imposing restrictions on the felling of trees and preventing further denudation of forest areas. But this is largely a matter for community involvement and initiative, and I hope our people, particularly in the rural areas, will take up this work in right earnest. If today many people still go without enough food, it is not because of lack of food but rather because of lack of purchasing power. Hence, our agricultural plans will have to aim at generating more and more employment in the rural areas in addition to providing food for our growing population stock.